Good morning, everyone. My name is Suavek Zajac. I work for RIM Developer Relations, working with partners and vendors on developing BlackBerry applications. I have with me Anthony Decena, who is an evangelist from Appcelerator. And today, we have the pleasure of presenting to you the preview of the Appcelerator Titanium platform on BlackBerry 10. So I'm just going to briefly introduce where Appcelerator fits into our platform and how it's implemented. And then Anthony is going to give you an overview of the platform as well as a preview of how it looks and behaves on BlackBerry 10. And then we'll be able to answer questions about what's coming, what features are coming, when, and we'll answer any questions you may have. So let's just briefly overview the SDKs that we currently have on BlackBerry 10. So for the purposes of this presentation, we're interested in the native SDK and the Cascades SDK as well. The reason why is that the Appcelerator platform is actually implemented on top of it. And Anthony is going to discuss the details of how this is implemented. So obviously, we have other choices of platforms on BlackBerry 10. We have the HTML platform, we have Adobe Air, and we have the Android runtime as well. So in order to get the best performance out of the platform, usually the native applications excel at that. So this is where Appcelerator really kind of fits in. And so why native? And obviously, we want the portability between apps. We want the power of applications, and we want to have delightful applications. So how do we go about implementing a framework such as Appcelerator onto BlackBerry 10? Essentially, we look at the architecture of BlackBerry 10, and we look at all the frameworks that it provides and where Appcelerator could fit into this picture. And so the platform is based on top of QNX, and QNX enables all the APIs, the rich set of APIs, and then builds on top of that. And on top of that sits the web framework as well as the native framework. So this is essentially where what Appcelerator is based on. It uses the native framework, and it ports the V8 JavaScript engine. And that JavaScript engine maps onto what Appcelerator likes to call a bridge. So it maps onto Cascades components. So when you're actually using Appcelerator, you're using their JavaScript, you're actually invoking native Cascades components. So you're not using the web components. You could be, and Anthony is going to go into that. But if you really want the efficiency and the performance, you could actually use the native components. So this is just an overview and not meant to, I mean, the text here is too small to really look into that. But this is essentially all the core packages on which Appcelerator relies to give you the native extensions. And right now, we're at the stage where we don't have any native extensions, but those will be coming. So we can answer any questions at the end of the presentation about what's coming and what we're hoping to accomplish. And now I'll pass it over to Anthony to introduce the platform.
Hey, how you guys doing? As Suavek said, my name is Anthony Decena. I am a platform evangelist. For Appcelerator, we had a pretty good intro here about what we're looking to do, with the Titanium platform by incorporating the BlackBerry 10. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go through it. Just a brief overview one more time. We saw this slide just a second ago. Where does Appcelerator fit into this? And this is kind of where we're at. We are a native framework. Even though you write your code in JavaScript, your UI and your business logic, all this stuff is written in JavaScript, but we've created what we call the bridge. And this bridge is direct right into the native components for your platform. So we are a native framework. You can incorporate your web properties and things like that into an app just the way you would natively. But even though it's JavaScript, you are still accessing those native components. What we're going to go over, we're just going to give a brief overview of the platform. I'm going to actually run through some code. We're actually going to look at the demo. We're going to show you what we've got so far. And we're going to spend most of the time kind of doing that. I want to show you guys kind of what we've got, where we're going with it, and what it can be in the near future. And then we'll give you some information if, like hopefully some next steps so you guys can look forward to actually developing with the platform. And then we'll take some questions at the end there. So everybody knows we live in this multi-platform world. Everybody wants their apps run on as many devices as possible. Right now, Titanium supports iOS and Android. We've got mobile web as well, but BlackBerry 10 is obviously the next step where we want to go with this. But when you're building your apps, you automatically want to think cross-platform. There was just a study done that says that during the day, PC levels or laptop levels, they're through the roof. 85% of the people during the day are using their tablet, or not their tablet, but their laptop or their PC. Come nighttime, that number drops to about 20%, and 80% are on a tablet now. So from their PC to their laptop to their tablet, just by daytime, nighttime. So while they're on the move, they're checking their emails on their phones and all these different platforms and all these different form factors. You want to target as many of them as possible because people want this cross-platform. They want to be able to access all the same information no matter what device they've got in their hand. And then you can run web apps. Everybody accesses their web apps all the time. Facebook is a great example. Facebook has a terrible mobile app, so most people on a device will actually use the web app, even though they have a mobile application. HTML5 is still a viable solution for some people. Like I said, users, they want and they need to engage businesses, and they want to do it on all their platforms. They don't want to be stuck to just one device and one platform. And there's other things down the road. Windows Phone, all these things they're coming to the market, and they are going to get a lot of play, a lot of use. But mobile developers today, problem statement, trying to develop end apps for end platforms, it doesn't scale. So think about this. You're developing your app and you choose a platform. You choose your first platform. Say it's BlackBerry. You build that app. You got to figure out how much time, how much money, and who the developers need to be to build this application. Now, if you want to go to a second platform, we'll say it's Android because we're still in Java land. You've got to do it again. Time, money, people. How much resources can I put into this? If you want to go to a third platform, iOS, anything else, you have to do it again. It does not scale well. You end up with a huge scalability problem, a huge maintenance problem, and then lastly, you're going to have a parity problem because you're now on so many devices. So scalability problems, like I said, feature parity, duplication of efforts across your teams, the time it's going to take to get you to market in each of these places. Your iOS developers, your BlackBerry developers, they're not going to jive. If you're developing for BlackBerry, chances are you're not a great iOS developer. iOS developers are super picky about crossing platforms. They don't like to do it. They're really good iOS developers, and that's it. So you can't have the same people doing all of these things. So cross-platform development is the answer to the problem. But the one thing that we don't want to do is write once and just suck everywhere. We like to say this, but Lauren Brichter, the author of the Tweety Twitter client for iOS, actually said this. And for those of you who don't know, the Tweety Twitter client for iOS is actually now just the default Twitter client for iOS. It was that good. But Lauren believed that cross-platform development was just the watered-down, dumbed-down version of only the common elements between platforms, meaning that if you had a platform like BlackBerry that does something great that's not available on other platforms, that it wouldn't be available to you in a cross-platform development environment simply because it's not available on those other platforms. And this is what we try to get away from with Titanium. So the way we try to solve the cross-platform, we've taken a different approach to this. You're never going to get 100% code reuse when you're building your cross-platform applications. It's not possible. But you can write once and adapt for everything. So, we're going to give you all of the great things that exist on your platform, but only for platform-specific, items. So just because BlackBerry 10 can do something great and Android can't, we're not going to take that away from you. You're just going to have to take some time, make that distinction, and code for it. Open source and extensible. All of the Titanium APIs, everything's on GitHub. You can download it. You can package it yourself. Think you can do it better? By all means, start digging in. Everything we do is open source and available under the Apache 2.0 license, fairly unrestricted license. And then the idea behind all this is to give developers a broader range. We're bringing developers to platforms that normally those developers would not be able to code for. So the whole idea is we can deliver great apps that exceed user expectations on multiple platforms. So Titanium is the product. We've created this framework that allows you to build these best-in-class cross-platform applications. And we allow you to do it all using a single JavaScript code base. So as part of the Appcelerator platform, or part of the Titanium, we also offer a great marketplace for modules, native and JavaScript modules. So everything we do within the Titanium API is a module in itself. There's a network module, a UI module. They're all modules. And what we allow you to do is extend that core platform with your own modules. You can sell them in our marketplace. You can give them away for free. But it's a plug-in system that allows you to build things that extend our core platform. Out of the box, we do offer analytics. Titanium Studio is our Eclipse-based IDE. And for those of you who cringe at Eclipse-based and IDE, we do have command line tools for you command line junkies. We've got some great things in the work that's going to turn that CLI into actually a super user tool. Right now, it can basically just do what Titanium Studio does for you out of the box. So we do give you the full stack mobile development SDK. You do have multiple runtime targets, but just the one JS code base, like I said. As I said, again, free and open source under the Apache 2.0 license. We've got iOS, Android, mobile web, and the BlackBerry 10 alpha going on right now, which we're going to see in just a little bit. Real quick, again, this is kind of how all this works. All your code, your UI, your phone logic, all this stuff is written in JavaScript. We package your app with a JavaScript runtime. For Android, as he said, it's going to be V8, more performant of the two. But you can also switch to Rhino if it suits you. V8 would, being the more performant, is default. If you were developing cross-platform and went to iOS, the iOS JavaScript runtime is JavaScript Core. So your JavaScript plus the JavaScript engine plus the Titanium SDK, which binds your JavaScript over to the native side of the platform, all create an actual native mobile application. So actually, here we go. We'll go ahead and I'm going to kind of just walk you guys through what we've got so far with the SDK for BlackBerry. What we're looking at right here, this is the Titanium Studio. As I said, it's our Eclipse-based IDE. I'm going to give you a kind of a walkthrough of Studio, how we would create a new project, and then I'll show you some code, just some basic stuff, and we'll kind of choose your own adventure from here, and show you what we've got with the BlackBerry 10 stuff. So again, what you would see right here with Titanium Studio, go ahead and create a new mobile project. I'm gonna show you guys the walkthrough of this stuff. All this stuff is very alpha, so if something starts to act wonky, just bear with me. Right here is you're presented with a new project template. Everything that a core application is kind of based off of, this is a great place to start. A default project just drops some code into a single file, but you really don't want to go that way. A single window application, very easy, kind of like a blank canvas. A master detail application would be something like the settings app on your phone. You choose a category, it drills down. You choose another category, it drills down, you set some options. A tabbed application, which is most of the apps in the App Store these days that are non-games. They're tabs along the bottom, tabs along the top. In BlackBerry 10 case, the one tab bar or the one tab button that flips open all the tabs on the side. And then an HTML5 based application for things that you put in either your web views or if you're actually building out a full HTML5 application. Normally, we would just pick a default project. You'd give it a name. Looks like I've already used that name. An app ID is unique for your application, so we always say to use a reverse domain naming convention. And then you can see that you can choose your Titanium SDK. Currently, for the BlackBerry 10 stuff, I'm using a 2.2.0 CI release. We do have a continuous integration server. And this actual build would not be available if you were downloading right now. Our current release is 2.1.3. It's an RC to support iOS 5 or iOS 6 and iPhone 5 new screen dimensions. You can see my deployment targets right here. I've got iPhone, iPad, Android, BlackBerry, and mobile web. And these are all available. You'd be able to create your app and actually push to all of these different platforms. And then cloud services. Cloud services is going to be the one. If you think of something like a database in the cloud, I'll give you guys a little overview of the cloud services here near the end, because it's going to be one of the very first things that is going to be a really powerful tool for your BlackBerry development. Right here, normally we'd hit finish and we'd spin up a new project. I've already got 20 projects going here, so basically what we would do, here I'll pull up our Redbox demo. This is basic, just your basic code. This is my Redbox demo. I'll show you what the Redbox looks like in the simulator in a second. But just to give you just a quick walkthrough of the code, as I said, everything's written in JavaScript here. So I'm wrapping everything in a function. We support the CommonJS spec, so everything's kind of wrapped in a function, exported in a module. That way, all your code keeps separated, and it cleans up after itself. It initiates your garbage collector and makes sure that all of your stuff gets cleaned up as you're traversing your app. You're always going to create a shell, basically, to start with. And the last thing you'll do is, you can't see it here because I'm returning the window, but the last thing you'll always do is you'll open that window. So I create a window and I open a window. If you've ever done any other development, web development or anything, we're laid out in a hierarchical fashion. So you're always going to create that application shell, or you're going to create a parent view, and then you're going to add child views to it. And they have that parent-child relationship. As you can see, I create a view. I just give it a background color of red. I give it a height and a width. For BlackBerry, currently, the coordinate system is going to be based off the top left. If you were doing iOS, it would be based off the center of the screen. And then if you were doing Android, it's actually top center, I believe. Actually, most of the time we try to, level that out, but we keep basically auto kind of like size constants. If you give something a fill size or a top size, you make sure everything kind of evens out for all your different platforms. I believe the BlackBerry stuff is going to change to actually be top center, kind of like Android. But in that case, all you have to do is make sure that you're thinking top down instead of middle out. And then you have your application shell. You add a view to it, and then of course you're going to add interactivity. So all I'm doing is adding a click listener to this. Right here, I actually have an animate function that would move the box to the top, the left, and animate it to blue. Right now, the animations currently are not working on the BlackBerry stuff. The BlackBerry 10 stuff, which I'll show you right now, is very much just UI based. We don't have any of the other modules in right now. So I would you fire this up, and it actually installs right into our BlackBerry simulator. This is the BlackBerry 10 Dev Alpha simulator, and this is our kitchen sink. Right here, let me give you guys an idea about how this is supposed to lay out. Here we go. What we're looking at here on the right is the iOS 6 simulator for the 3.5 Retina display. And right next to it, obviously, the Dev simulator. Both of these applications are the same. They're both our kitchen sink application. The UI is handled by the platform. This is one of the more powerful features of Titanium. The same code will often, is going to yield different results depending on your platform. If I were to fire this up in the Android emulator, those tabs get moved to the top and things get moved around because that's the way the platform lays it out. Just real fast here, I'll give you kind of a walkthrough of just what we've got. There's 5 tabs here. Base UI stuff is basic views and basic windows. It's not going to play nice with me, is it? I think I might have had this open too long. Here's our, oh no. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can't get this to
Maybe restart the app.
Restart.
We're still in the alpha stage, just still working through.
Here we go. Let's see. So let's try this one more time. There we go. Basic views. Table views are kind of what we're looking at. You don't need to. It's actually kind of dark.
It's a bit too dark here. Yeah,
image views, basic image incorporation. There's nothing super exciting. Hey, I clicked. You clicked me. So we have UI and interaction kind of built in so far. Window events, custom events, all these things. I don't know if you can actually see that. All these things would trigger different events for for your touch device. We actually don't have layouts. So my Redbox demo. So those 20 lines of code that I showed you before. This is basically what it creates. It creates our application shell, a Redbox, and then, as I said, your focal point is top left. So we also have a lot of the controls kind of built in. This is just a basic slider. And again, this is a kind of what I usually like to get at. Again, on the right up here, you have the iOS simulator. On the left, you have the BlackBerry sim. And the slider, it's about 4 lines of code to make a slider. You create a slider, you give it some, a min-max value, and the platform creates the actual control. So these controls are made with the very same 3 lines of code, 3 or 4 lines of code, but they look very different and they act very different based on the platform. And that's one of those, extremely powerful things that Titanium does. Is you don't need to start styling and worrying about colors and all these different things, it's gonna create the control the way the platform makes it look. And that's some of the things that you lose with your cross-platform development these days, is that if you're using an HTML5 framework, everything you touch is HTML5 and CSS. It doesn't react the same. When you slide this, when you're sliding this this BlackBerry slider, it's quick and it's fast, it's snappy, and it's because of the power behind the platform. It's native. But if that were an HTML5 slider, you'd get this stick, drag, delay, events to be firing in the background, and all these things that it slows down your application. And this is still your native UI and the native performance that you would get by building your application this way. So I believe we've got some, so we have switches in, though I guess events don't fire on the actual switches yet. So with all of these things, I mean, form fields and all the great UI stuff, all this stuff is available, is in now. We just took this project over from Macadamian, so we will actually be putting a lot of resources into completing this out. And I'll give you a walkthrough here on the iOS so you can see where we're going with the actual implementation of all this. When we have the phone, when we actually have the platform-specific modules built in, you will be able to do things simple like playing movies, local or remote. It's easy streaming. You can embed movies. You will have control if it was on a device. You'll have control over vibration, geolocation, the accelerometer, full sound implementations, meaning you can be able to play basic sounds. You'll also be able to play music. Orientation, you'll have access to the camera. You'll be able to do simple things like taking screenshots. This is just a screen of a screenshot of the screen we were just on. Proximity events, you know what a proximity event is. You're using your phone and you get a call, you put it up to your ear and the screen goes dark. It's a proximity event. I'm not sure BlackBerry 10 has the app badge. Push notifications. We do a cross-platform push notification through our Appcelerator Cloud Services. I'll kind of give you I'll show you that right now. You'll have full network control, XHR. If you've ever done any web development, it's a duplicate of the XHR spec for web development. You'll have full access to application data, the same data that we entered earlier. We have a properties API, which allows you to store things like booleans and strings and things like that. If you've got a larger set of information, you can JSON stringify a JSON object and store it that way. Otherwise, we have a database. It's the SQLite 3 implementation. It's built right in, so you have an onboard database right out of the box. You'll have full access to the file system, so we can write files and read files. Keep hitting that button. And you'll be able to save things locally to your app. Easy thing, you'll have full access to utils, base64 encoding, MD5, SHA1. Sockets, it's a low-level socket API, so if the XHR is not robust enough or you need something custom, you'll have a full socket implementation. But you'll also be able to do things mashed up easily. Foursquare, I'm not logged into Foursquare. Facebook, I'm wondering if I'm logged in. I am logged into Facebook. We do have a full Facebook API, so as a core module, and I have no web connection. Normally what that would do is query the Facebook API and return the status of all my friends. This is actually built-in feature. And we will, that is going to be one of the built-in features for BlackBerry 10 as well. You'll also be able to publish in photos and updates to your stream. Again, one of the questions I get asked a whole lot is, I've got an HTML5 web app. It's built on some, Sencha Touch or Dojo Mobile or something, something similar. And I want to turn it into a Titanium app, but how, do I have to do that? Do I have to rewrite all my code? And the answer is no. This is actually just a web app built right into our kitchen sink. This is the Dojo kitchen sink built into our kitchen sink. So I'm kind of stacking kitchen sinks here. But it allows you to do all the great things that you did in your web app, but still maintain the native outlay. So you still have full control over your tabs and your back buttons and everything. And just, I just use these three, Dojo Mobile, Sencha Touch, and jQuery Mobile as an example. But of course, if it's just any web app, we'll be able to do this. It takes about 3 lines of code to actually make this happen. And if you were to do something like in PhoneGap, it's kind of the same idea. It's just like you've used Titanium, you've got access to 5,000 other APIs as well. And then basic things, YQL. YQL is also built into the core platform. If you don't know what YQL is, it's the Yahoo query language. Allows you to query unstructured data in a structured fashion, kind of like a database. It's pretty sweet, every web developer's dream. And then RSS and SOAP, of course. SOAP is not a preferred method of transport for mobile applications because it's extremely huge and verbose, and I would suggest never, ever, ever using it unless you absolutely must. But if you need it, it's there for you. That's just kind of where we're going. Obviously, you're going to see some iOS-specific stuff in what I just showed you, but we want to offer all of these things on the BlackBerry 10 platform as well, along with any of the great features that are specific to BlackBerry as well. Real fast here, I'll show you. I talked about Appcelerator Cloud Services. This is one of the. That's not it. Appcelerator Cloud Services is actually one of the more powerful features that's actually going to make your BlackBerry development a whole lot easier. We have kind of like this database in the cloud for you. One of our most powerful features is the users. Let me see if I'm logged in here. I'm currently logged in. Let's see, log out, current user. So let me create a user here. I'll call him. So what I'm doing here is, well, I'm not doing anything. So what I've done here is I've shot off a simple REST call to our cloud services. And all I did was pass in these 5 pieces of information, my username, password, a confirmed password, my first name, and my last name. And what I get back is that I've created the user, but not only have I created a user, I'm also logged in. So simply by creating a user, I now have a complete user system for my mobile application. And everything that I do within my mobile application can now be attached to that user. Now, if you've ever put together a website or built a login system for your application, you know that sometimes it can be just a huge headache. You've got back-end server stuff you got to do, database, authorization, all these things that you've got to do for your website or your app. ACS just kind of does this for you out of the box. All you got to do is make that one call. And now everything we do is kind of attached to my user. You can see that I'm logged in as me, and I have a session that that I'm attached to. But now I can also query and search other users. And all this is controlled through access control lists. So you can give yourself admins, who's got access to what data, who can see what, and who can't. It's easy to create chats. I can pick 3 people and start a group chat. Obviously, they're all me, so I'd just be talking to myself. But it's a built-in object. Check-ins, easy to create check-ins. So, hey, I'm at the San Jose Marriott. I just checked in at the San Jose Marriott. I created that place. I'll show you that in a second. Clients, my phone's actually one of the clients, so I can geolocate myself. Apparently, it thinks I'm in White Plains, New York. Might not be right there right now, but I can also geolocate a particular device. So if I've got an IP of a device, I can geolocate that device, which is a pretty cool feature. For everything that you don't see here, we have custom objects. You can create custom objects for basically any extra information that you need to hold. Emails, basic email templates. Events are just, kind of like calendar events. Back up twice. We do have file storage. Friends, you can add friends. You can make friend requests. This stuff is built in. If you don't need a custom object and you just need to store a key value pair, just a key value pair. Messages, kind of like an inbox for your app. Photo collections is obviously a collection of photos, and then a photo would be a single photo. Places, you can create places kind of like I just checked in at the Marriott, so it shows me, hey, these are the places you've created. Push notifications, as I said, this does happen cross-platform. MQTT, I believe, for BlackBerry 10 for notifications. This is how we would push notifications into your app, and it happens cross-platform, so you can hit all your entire user base or just a particular channel. And one of the last things I want to check here is the social stuff. Social basically holds external login links to your social account. So basically, you prompt the user to log in this case, Facebook. They would log in, and we automatically store that auth token. So the next time your user logs into your app, he's automatically logged into Facebook. So you don't have to ask him every single time whether or not he wants to log into Facebook or to do whatever it is that you need to do within your app. So that's kind of an overview of ACS, our cloud services. It's going to be one of the first things that we're going to push into the BlackBerry stuff, because as you can see, it makes developing those apps, those types of apps, a whole lot easier and a whole lot quicker. And hopefully, sometime in the very near future, we'll have all that running over in our, our BlackBerry SIM as well. So that was kind of our live code portion. Let me.
And we're targeting to have the next version available sometime around the end of October, sort of an early beta, so a lot more features added.
We are hoping, we are holding the Appcelerator Developer Conference Code Strong in October, and we'd very much like to, to have something then that you guys can actually start poking around and playing with, and actually start maybe porting some of those apps that you've got, and actually start reaching some of the other platforms that maybe you're not developing for now. So we've kind of seen, this is kind of like the boring stuff. The kitchen sink example, there's not a whole lot of exciting stuff in there. It's just basic stuff. But, what can you build with Titanium? What did I just do? I'm sorry, one sec. Are we still there? Sorry about that. So a couple of things. Here's just a few apps that we've actually built using Titanium. The Late Night with Jimmy Fallon app is a cross-platform application that you get a very similar user experience regardless of which platform you're running it on. They've done a pretty good job of keeping a brand-centered kind of focus with their cross-platform applications. Meaning that I told you before, when you create different elements on different platforms, you let the platform decide how it looks. They decided to take that over and make sure that their brand is how it looks on every single device. The NBC iPad app, again, super huge custom interface. It's beautiful, it's smooth, it's fast, but they also keep up to date with the app. With their website. So their entire app runs off of a web API that they make calls to. They let them do automatic updates for shows and new clips and new games. And they also use a proprietary streaming media server on their end. So they've actually used our Socket API and pulled that proprietary media stream down to actually stream videos into their application. And then Jay Leno's Garage. Kind of a goofy Jay Leno app. It's fun, but it's Jay Leno. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. The Zipcar app is I don't know if you guys have heard of Zipcar, obviously, right? Yeah, no. It basically allows you to actually find Zipcar locations and get reserve your car right then and there. You can actually see it looks a little bit different between iOS and actually those are, yes, a little bit different between iOS and Android. Again, this is because certain things lay out differently on iOS than they do on Android, but the same functionality is still built into both applications. You'll often see less UI elements on an Android screen simply because the Android has one thing that an iOS doesn't, and that would be a hardware button that allows you to pull up a menu and access all sorts of new information. Triplingo, these guys have done an amazing job of putting this app on everything that is supported. It runs on iOS, Android, it runs in mobile web. It also runs on the Nook and the Kindle Fire. So they've actually done an amazing job of getting this user experience on all devices. If you want to see how it expands, yeah.
When you were showing the setup for the default project in Target Platform, the iPad, the iOS, the Android, BlackBerry 10, for Android, how do you deal with targeting Android phones versus Android tablets?
That's actually a good question that I skipped over in my walkthrough. So obviously, you know that Android has about 10 million form factors, and it's just getting worse daily. So this is kind of how we help you break it down. We have what we call platform-specific folders. You can see up here in my App Explorer that I have a folder for Android, BlackBerry, iPhone, and mobile web. What would happen is in my Android folder, I have an images folder and a folder for all of the different densities and screen sizes and all of that craziness that that Google has kind of put specs together for. So you would put your specific density-specific resources in these folders, and when you build for that platform, it will pull those resources intuitively for you. So we also have an Android manifest flag that you can set any density to false, and that'll kind of expand your current UI just to fit whatever screen it's on. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's ugly, but these are things that Android developers go through. So we try to make it as easy as possible for to facilitate those resources. Does that make sense? Awesome. Let's see, we're almost through this. So so there, and that's that's how Triplingo has kind of done theirs. The Kindle Fire runs a special version of Android, so all of they actually look pretty decent on most devices. HipSwap, just a local commerce application. Again, running on multiple platforms, iOS and iPhone, or iOS and Android. They've also got a mobile web version of this, which doesn't look too bad. Of course, it's it's still mobile web, so it could use some polishing. If you want to actually see a couple more apps, a bunch more apps that that have been built on the platform, just hit up appcelerator.com/showcase, and you'll be able to see just kind of some of the showcase apps that we've got up online right now. I'm not sure where these came from, but just a couple of little ideas to bounce through your head. Right now, we've got about 40,000 production apps. Those are unique apps in the app stores. So and this is that we know of. We have analytics on by default, but you don't have to have analytics on, and for apps that turn analytics off, we can't track those. So there's 40,000 production apps that actually have analytics on right now. We're actually closer to about 420,000 registered developers at the moment. The number's growing every day. We're out here. Hopefully, we'll see a nice influx of developers as soon as the BlackBerry stuff gets released. And we have user groups all over. If you're interested in seeing if there's a user group around you, go to appcelerator.meetup.com. Go ahead.
With the
So I could probably answer that. As soon as BlackBerry 10 comes onto the playbook, then that's when we would support the playbook as well. So right now, as you know, playbook is not on BlackBerry 10, so it's probably going to be after, sometime after we release the phones when that happens.
Makes sense. One thing here, like one number that we didn't actually get to here is we've actually been able to track these 40,000 apps onto 80 million devices worldwide right now. So that means 80 million devices right now have Titanium apps on them. It's a pretty big number, and it's, again, it's growing every day. People are creating great apps that are getting downloaded, more and more every day. You can go ahead and kind of get started if you're not already, just by downloading. Go to appcelerator.com and just download Titanium Studio. Start installing stuff. Don't focus on the BlackBerry stuff that's there now, because that is BlackBerry 7 development framework that never came out of beta, because we started work on the BlackBerry 10 stuff. So we'll have the BlackBerry 10 stuff incorporated there hopefully very soon. And yeah, where are we at? What time?
We're good.
Yeah, we got plenty of time. Yeah. So that kind of wraps it up. If anybody's got any questions, comments, bitches, gripes, complaints, concerns, yeah. So the question was if we allow customization of the actual, not only just the platform, but the elements within the platform. Is that what you're asking? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, the APIs actually offer a wide range of options. Of course, some of the options are going to be platform specific, but in the end, you can actually, if it doesn't customize the way you want, it's something that you can actually build out yourself. I've actually seen people that just completely hate the implementation of some feature or some UI element and just kind of build it from the ground up. So there, it's fully customizable. You don't have to let the platform decide how things are going to look. You still have customization control over that. Of course, there are going to be some limitations to that, and it's basically what the platform is going to allow you to do. So yeah, I mean, you don't have, not all your apps have to look the same. You can deeply customize things. There's two schools of thought in cross-platform development. There's letting the device decide how things are going to look, and then there's the kind of like the brand-centric, customize my UI type of approach, and you can do both very well. Anything else? Yeah. Is there support for on-device debugging? Yes. For right now, for Android, we're obviously using ADB. You just fire it up and listen on the IP for the device. For iOS, you use the Xcode instruments debugger. You just your device has to be plugged in, obviously. And I actually saw a module the other day that somebody put together that was actually implemented like an OTA debugger for iOS. So he was actually debugging like over the air or across his local network or something. It was pretty cool, but the debugging code was his. It wasn't actually the debug information coming from the device, if that makes sense. Go ahead.
Can you talk about your pricing model?
Pricing models, yes. So right now, as I said, everything is free and open source. So you can start building your apps. You can get your apps in the App Store, and all that's going to be free. We make our money. The next question is always, how do you make money if everything's free? We make our money in a couple of ways. We offer professional services. So for like the NBC iPad app that I showed you, they needed a whole team to help to work with their team in implementing some of the crazy things that they did. So we offer professional services. We also offer support, different levels of support. If you need that 24-hour SLA for for a client, we offer support for that. Then we also have the cloud services, which I kind of demoed for you guys. The cloud services, depending on your usage of the cloud services, we have different levels of API calls or push notifications, things like that. So all these different kind of subscription services are the way we actually make our money. Does that make sense? Yeah. Anything else? Any more questions? We got 10 minutes. We could wrap it up early, or if anybody has any other questions that might pop into your head later, go ahead.
Why wouldn't we use it? What kind of app would not be as suitable for this environment?
The question was why wouldn't you use Titanium? Right now, one of the big things that people shy away from Titanium is because we don't have a great game platform. So if you're building a game, if you're making use of like heavy 3D gaming or something like that, we're not the best platform for that. On that note, though, that's something that we hope to change very soon. I can't tell you or not tell you that we may or may not be looking into making games a little more developer friendly on the Titanium platform, but that might be something that you want to look out for the future. Anything else? Yeah.
We're a software house. Just to check with the free open source license that you mentioned, so we can develop an application and license and sell that to a customer. We're open to do that.
Yes. Yes, you are. As I said, though, when you do that, sometimes it's helpful for your shop to have that enterprise agreement for support or anything that you might need. And you can pass that on to your client, obviously, as well. So, but yeah, you can build your commercial app, you can sell that to your client, and as long as you're within the free boundaries of the free license, then yeah, you're good to go. Anything else? Again, if you have any questions that might pop up later, or might arise down the road, you can. I guess I'll be at the round table here in just a little bit. And actually, if you need to get a hold of me, you have a question, anything, doesn't matter. Just don't sign me up for any mailing lists or anything like that. But hit me up on Twitter. I'm there very often. I am DR. I'm developer relations. I am a platform evangelist. My job is to evangelize and relate with developers. So I'm always on Twitter. You can reach me there. You can shoot an email to community@appcelerator.com. This will go to the entire DR team. If you want to hit me up directly, just swap out that community with a Decena, and that'll go directly to me. So again, just any questions, thoughts, comments, anything, I'm always open. And again, I guess I'll be at the roundtable Ask the Experts thing over in the other room at noon, I think at noon. So yeah, I got nothing else. You got anything else?
As well, if you have any questions pertaining to the RIM solution, you can post them on our forums, and they'll eventually make their way to me, and I'll try to answer, regarding the timelines, when things are going to be coming, certain features, when they will be made available, and so on. Okay.
Perfect. All right, you guys, thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys coming by.
Thanks.